I want her. Vincenzo finally looked at him, cold, lethal calm in his eyes. Bring her to me, Gio, he said softly, or I'll kill you myself. They said the man who ruled Wall Street by day and ordered executions by night had no heart. They were wrong, because the moment Violet Anderson locked eyes with him, the most feared billionaire mafia king in America decided one thing. If he couldn't own her, he would burn the world to get her. Violet Anderson had no idea tonight would be the last night she lived a normal life. The neon lights of Los Angeles shimmered through the restaurant's wide glass windows as she wiped down the last table. Her brown hair was tied in a messy bun, strands slipping free as sweat clung lightly to her skin. Her fingers smelled of dish soap and cheap sanitizer, nothing like the paint-stained hands she wished she was using right now. Art was her dream. Survival was her reality. Tracy Derwin called from the counter, her voice loud even over the hum of the espresso machine. If you stare at that napkin any harder, you'll sketch a hole through it. Violet smiled faintly and folded the napkin she'd been doodling on, soft lines of a man's face she didn't recognize. I was just thinking, Violet said. That's dangerous, Tracy teased. Come on, shift's over, you're walking home with me. Violet nodded, slinging her bag over her shoulder. Her life was simple. Too simple for someone with dreams that big. A shared apartment, a waitressing job, late nights painting until her fingers cramped. She didn't know simplicity was about to be ripped away. Vincenzo Mercanti stood at the top floor of his Manhattan penthouse, overlooking the city that bowed to him. At 26, he had everything: power, wealth, fear. Men twice his age lowered their eyes when he entered a room. His black tailored suit fit him like armor. His dark hair was combed back neatly, his jaw sharp enough to cut glass. His eyes, cold, calculating, merciless, were fixed on the city below. 5 accounts secured, Giovanni Romano said from behind him. The Chicago deal is clean. No leaks. Vincenzo didn't turn. And the problem in Miami? He asked calmly. Handled. Vincenzo lifted his glass of whiskey. Good. To the world, he was Vincent Mercer, billionaire CEO of Mercanti Global Holdings, real estate, shipping, tech, a genius businessman who moved markets with a sentence. To the underworld, he was Il Re Nero, the Black King, ruthless, untouchable, a man whose name ended bloodlines, yet even kings grew bored. Tomorrow night, Giovanni said carefully. There's a private event in L.A., elite donors, politicians, artists. You were invited. I hate parties, Giovanni smirked. You hate boredom more, Vincenzo's eyes darkened. Fine. The venue was exclusive, guarded, loud with money. Violet didn't belong there. She only came because Tracy begged her to fill in as a temporary server. The pay was insane and Violet needed rent money. She wore a simple black dress, her hair down this time, cascading softly. Around her shoulders, no makeup beyond lip gloss and mascara. She felt invisible, until she wasn't. Across the room, Vincenzo Mercanti stopped mid-conversation. The music faded, the chatter dulled, everything narrowed into one point. Her. A petite brunette holding a tray of champagne, eyes lowered, unaware that she'd just stepped into a predator's line of sight. Who is she? Vincenzo asked quietly. Giovanni followed his gaze. I don't know. I came here with you, man. Vincenzo's jaw tightened. I want her. Giovanni turned sharply. What? Vincenzo finally looked at him, cold, lethal calm in his eyes. Bring her to me, Gio, he said softly, or I'll kill you myself. Giovanni swallowed. Okay. Violet felt it before she saw it, that unmistakable weight of being watched. Her skin prickled as she handed a glass to a guest, then slowly lifted her eyes and froze. Across the room stood a man who didn't look real. Tall, broad shoulders, presence that crushed air. His eyes locked onto hers. The world tilted. Violet's heart slammed against her ribs as something ancient and dangerous stirred in her chest, fear wrapped in fascination. She looked away first. Big mistake. "Miss." She turned. Giovanni stood before her, smiling politely, but his eyes were tense. "My boss would like a word." Violet hesitated. I'm working." "He's very generous," Giovanni said, "and not patient." Something in his tone made her nod. She followed him. Straight into hell. Vincenzo didn't offer her a seat. He studied her like art, like prey. "Name," he said. "Violet." "Look at me when you speak." She did, and felt herself unravel. Those eyes weren't human. They were dark with secrets, violence, control. "You're not supposed to be here," he said. "I work here," she replied quietly. A corner of his mouth lifted. Not a smile. Something worse. "Do you know who I am?" She shook her head. Good, he thought. He leaned closer. The scent of expensive cologne and danger surrounded her. "You will," he said. "Soon." Her pulse raced. "I should go." He blocked her path effortlessly. "You belong to me now." Her breath caught. "Excuse me?" "You don't know it yet," he continued calmly, "but tonight changed your life." Her voice trembled. "I don't even know your name." "Vincenzo." The name echoed in her chest. "I don't want trouble," Violet said. Vincenzo straightened, eyes glinting. "Trouble already wants you." An hour later, Violet rushed outside, heart pounding. She shouldn't have followed Giovanni. She shouldn't have spoken to that man. The night air felt heavy. Then, a scream. A body hit the pavement nearby. Violet turned just in time to see a man collapse in an alley, blood spreading beneath him. She gasped. Footsteps echoed. Men in black moved like shadows. And then Vincenzo appeared, calm, unbothered, powerful. His eyes met hers. She saw it then. The truth. This man wasn't just rich. He was death in a tailored suit. "Please," she whispered, backing away. Vincenzo walked toward her slowly. "You saw nothing," he said. I can't." He cupped her chin gently, his thumb warm against her skin. "You're coming with me, Violet." Tears filled her eyes. "I don't belong to you." His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "You will." As his men closed in, Violet realized something terrifying. The most dangerous man in America didn't just want her. He had chosen her. And the moment a mafia king chooses, there is no escape. Violet thought fear had a limit. She was wrong. Because when the doors of Vincenzo Mercanti's world closed behind her, she learned something far more terrifying than violence. The man who kidnapped her was slowly becoming the only one who could protect her. The door slammed shut. Violet flinched as the vehicle surged forward, the city lights blurring past tinted windows. Her hands shook in her lap, breath shallow, heart racing so fast it hurt. She sat between two men dressed in black, silent, armed. Across from her, Vincenzo Mercanti leaned back calmly, one arm resting on the seat like this was just another business meeting. No urgency, no emotion. "You kidnapped me," Violet said, her voice trembling despite her effort to sound brave. He studied her like a puzzle. "No," he replied smoothly. "I removed you from danger." "What danger?" she snapped. "You are the danger." A slow smile curved his lips. "You're learning." Her stomach twisted. "Let me go," she said. "Please, I won't say anything, I swear." He leaned forward then, elbows on his knees, eyes dark and sharp. "That alley," he said quietly. "The man you saw die, he wasn't supposed to see you." Her throat tightened. "And now," she whispered. "And now," Vincenzo said, "someone will come for you." Her breath hitched. Why me? She asked desperately. I'm nobody. His gaze lingered on her face longer than necessary. That's what makes you valuable. The elevator ride felt endless. Violet stared at the mirrored walls, barely recognizing herself, pale, wide-eyed, terrified. The doors opened into a massive penthouse, glass walls, soft lighting, luxury so cold it felt unreal. This is where you'll stay, Vincenzo said, stepping out. I won't, Violet replied immediately. You can't keep me here. He turned slowly. I can, he said, and I will. She backed away. You don't own me. In one swift motion, he closed the distance, bracing a hand against the wall beside her head. I own everything I choose, he murmured, and tonight I chose you. Her knees weakened, but she refused to look away. You're a monster, she whispered. Something flickered in his eyes. Monsters don't hesitate, he said. Then he stepped back, leaving her shoulders breathless. Giovanni, he said calmly. Show her the room. Lock the floor. Violet's heart sank. She wasn't a guest. She was a prisoner. Hours later, Violet sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the city outside the window. A knock sounded. Giovanni entered alone, tension written across his face. You okay? He asked quietly. She laughed bitterly. Is that a joke? He sighed. Listen, you need to understand something. About your boss? She snapped. I already do. No, Giovanni said. You don't. He hesitated, then lowered his voice. Vincent Mercer doesn't exist. Her brow furrowed. He's Vincenzo Mercanti, Giovanni continued, and he doesn't just run companies. Violet's chest tightened. He runs syndicates across New York, Chicago, Miami, Italy. Her hands began to shake. He's the reason men disappear without a trace, Giovanni said. The reason wars end before they start. Tears welled in her eyes. Then why am I alive? Giovanni looked away. Because you're the first thing he's wanted that wasn't about power. Vincenzo stood alone in his office, staring at the city. He had killed without blinking, ordered massacres, betrayals, executions. Yet the image of Violet's frightened eyes haunted him. You're distracted, Giovanni said from the doorway. Vincenzo didn't deny it. She should be screaming, he muttered, begging. She's not like the others, Giovanni replied. No, Vincenzo agreed. She's worse. Giovanni frowned. Worse? She makes me hesitate. Silence fell. That's dangerous, Giovanni said carefully. Vincenzo's jaw tightened. I know. The next morning, Violet marched straight into Vincenzo's office. 2 guards moved to stop her. Let her, Vincenzo said without looking up. She slammed her palms on his desk. You can't keep me locked up like this, she said. I have a life. You had a life, he corrected calmly. It ended last night. Her eyes burned with tears. I don't belong in your world. He stood towering over her. My world doesn't ask permission. She glared up at him. You think money makes you God? No, he said softly. Violence does. Her voice cracked. Then kill me. The room went still. Vincenzo stared at her. Slowly, deliberately, he reached out and brushed a tear from her cheek with his thumb. I don't kill what's mine, he said. She slapped him. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Guards reached for their weapons. Vincenzo lifted a hand. No. Violet trembled, waiting for retaliation. Instead, he smiled, a dark, dangerous smile. Good, he said. You're stronger than I thought. That night, a call came in. Vincenzo listened silently, his expression unreadable. When he hung up, Giovanni swore. They know about her. Vincenzo's eyes hardened. Who? An Italian rival, old blood. Vincenzo turned toward the penthouse hallway. Violet's door. She's leverage, Giovanni warned. If they take her, they won't, Vincenzo said coldly. He walked toward her room, and for the first time in his life, fear followed him. Violet sat curled on the bed when he entered. I'm not safe here, am I? She asked quietly. He didn't lie. No, her voice shook. Then let me go. He knelt in front of her, forcing her to meet his eyes. If I let you go, he said, they'll kill you within 48 hours. Tears spilled freely now. I didn't choose this. I know, he replied softly. She swallowed. Then protect me. The words hit him harder than any bullet ever had. I will, Vincenzo said slowly, with my life. As Violet rested her head against his chest, heart racing, she realized the truth. The most dangerous man in the world was now the only thing standing between her and death. And Vincenzo Mercanti had just sworn a promise he had never kept before. They thought fear would break her. But fear didn't break Violet Anderson. It sharpened her. And the moment Vincenzo Mercanti realized she was no longer just something to protect, but someone who could destroy him. It was already too late. Violet woke up to silence, not the peaceful kind, the dangerous kind, the kind that meant men with guns were already moving. She sat up in bed, heart pounding, when the door opened. Vincenzo stepped in, fully dressed in black, gun holstered, jaw tight. Get dressed, he said. We're leaving. Her stomach dropped. Why? Because staying still gets people killed. She didn't argue. She learned quickly that questions were currency, and she had none. Minutes later, she was in another armored vehicle, this time beside him. The city blurred past again, but something had changed. Before, she was prey. Now, she was leverage. You need to teach me, she said suddenly. Vincenzo turned to her slowly. Teach you what? How to survive your world. His gaze searched her face, expecting fear. He found resolve. You don't want that, he said. I don't want to die, she replied. Silence stretched between them. Then, fine, he said, but once you start, there's no going back. I already crossed that line. The compound was hidden, guarded, brutal in its efficiency. Men trained in the courtyard, weapons gleamed under the sun. This wasn't a home. It was a fortress. Violet stood stiff beside Vincenzo as eyes followed her. Some curious, some calculating. She's staying, Vincenzo announced. A murmur rippled through the men. Giovanni stepped forward. You're sure? Vincenzo didn't blink. Yes, Giovanni exhaled. Then she needs training. Violet nodded. I'm ready. The men exchanged looks. Vincenzo leaned down, his voice low and dangerous. They will not go easy on you. Neither will life, she replied. Something unreadable flashed across his face. Training was hell. Her muscles screamed, her hands blistered. Sweat soaked her clothes as she learned how to run, fall, fight, and shoot. She failed. Again and again. Get up, the instructor barked as she hit the ground hard. Her vision blurred. I can't. A shadow fell over her. Vincenzo. He crouched beside her, gripping her chin firmly. You don't say that word, he said quietly. Her eyes burned. Why do you care? His jaw tightened. Because if you break, he said, they win. She pushed herself up. Blood streaked her palm. I won't break. That was the moment. The men stopped seeing a hostage. They started seeing a problem. That night, Violet soaked her bruises in a massive marble bathtub. Steam fogged the room, her body aching in places she didn't know existed. She didn't hear the door open. You're bleeding, she yelped, spinning. Vincenzo stood there, eyes dark, jaw clenched. I didn't invite you, she snapped. You didn't lock the door. She crossed her arms, cheeks flushed, not from modesty, but from awareness. Get out. He didn't move. You're changing, he said. So are you, she shot back. Silence crackled between them. He stepped closer, too close. "You should fear me," he murmured. "I did," she said. "Now I'm angry." That surprised him. "You ruined my life." "And yet," he said quietly, "you're still here." Her voice dropped. "Because I don't have a choice." His hand hovered near her arm but didn't touch. "I would give you one," he said. She met his eyes. "Then let me go." He couldn't. They both knew it. The tension snapped. He turned and left. Neither of them breathed properly until the door closed. Gunfire shattered the night. Violet jolted awake as alarms blared. "Down!" Giovanni shouted, dragging her from the bed as bullets tore through glass. Men screamed. Orders flew. She was shoved into a reinforced hallway as Vincenzo stormed past her, lethal, focused, furious. "They're inside!" someone yelled. Violet's chest constricted. This was it. She grabbed the gun Giovanni had given her earlier that day. Her hands shook. Footsteps. A masked man turned the corner. They locked eyes. Her finger pulled the trigger. The sound was deafening. The man dropped. Silence crashed over her. She stared at her shaking hands. I shot him." Vincenzo was there instantly, alive. Blood splattered across his shirt. He cupped her face. "You saved your life," he said. Her knees buckled. He caught her. The compound smelled like smoke and metal. Bodies were removed. Damage assessed. Violet sat on the floor, wrapped in a blanket, staring at nothing. Vincenzo knelt in front of her again. "You crossed a line tonight," he said softly. Her voice was hollow. "So did you." He frowned. "You promised to protect me." "And I did." "No," she whispered. "You turned me into you." That cut deeper than any insult. "You think I wanted this for you?" he snapped. "Then why am I still here?" she demanded. "Because you're mine." He didn't say it. He couldn't. Later, in the quiet aftermath, Violet stood on the balcony, shaking. Vincenzo joined her. "You should sleep," he said. "I see his face when I close my eyes." "So do I," he replied. She turned to him then, eyes blazing. "You don't get to save me and destroy me at the same time." He stepped closer. "You think I'm not destroyed already?" Her breath caught. The space between them vanished. This time, he didn't stop himself. The kiss was fierce, desperate, wrong, and inevitable. She kissed him back, then pulled away, trembling. "This changes nothing," she said. "It changes everything," he replied. As Violet lay awake that night, one truth echoed louder than gunfire. She had survived the Mafia. But surviving Vincenzo Mercanti? That might be impossible. Violet thought the worst thing she could become was someone who pulled a trigger. She was wrong. The worst thing she could become was someone the Mafia started to respect. Vincenzo didn't come to her room. That alone told Violet everything. Men like him didn't retreat unless they were afraid. And whatever he was feeling now scared him more than bullets ever had. She trained harder that day. Hard enough to make the men stare. Hard enough to make them whisper. She learned how to read body language, how to spot a lie before it was spoken, how silence could be louder than a threat, and slowly, quietly. They stopped calling her the girl. They started calling her Mercanti's shadow. Giovanni noticed it first. "Someone's leaking information," he told Vincenzo late that night. Vincenzo didn't look surprised. "Who?" "That's the problem," Giovanni replied. "It's clean, too clean." Violet stood nearby, pretending not to listen, but she always listened. "What if it's not about money?" she said suddenly. Both men turned. "What if it's personal?" Vincenzo studied her. "Explain," she swallowed. "The attack wasn't random. They knew where I was, where we moved. That means someone close." Giovanni cursed softly. Vincenzo's eyes darkened. Call a meeting. The men gathered in the war room. Faces hardened, arms crossed, suspicion thick. Vincenzo stood at the head of the table, Violet beside him. Some of the men didn't hide their discomfort. She shouldn't be here, one said. Vincenzo didn't look at him. She will stay. Silence. Violet's spine straightened. If someone here is feeding information, she said calmly, they'll do it again. A scoff. And what do you suggest, sweetheart? She met his eyes. A trap. They used her as bait, on purpose. The plan was simple. Fake a transfer, leak a destination, watch who reacted. Violet knew the risk. She agreed anyway. The convoy moved through a deserted stretch of road just outside the city, too quiet. Her fingers tightened around the gun. Something's wrong, she said. Too late. Gunfire erupted from both sides. Cars screeched. Men shouted. Vincenzo shoved Violet down as bullets shattered glass. Stay down! She didn't. She crawled toward the rear vehicle, heart hammering. And that's when she saw him, one of their own, on the phone, smiling. She raised the gun. Her voice didn't shake. Drop it! The man froze. Vincenzo turned just in time to see Violet standing there, steady, lethal. You, she said to the traitor, you sold us out. He laughed nervously. You won't shoot. She didn't hesitate. The gun went off. The man fell. The ambush stopped minutes later. The message was sent. Back at the compound, no one questioned Violet again. They watched her differently now. Not with curiosity, with caution. Vincenzo stood alone in his office later, fists clenched, replaying the moment. She hadn't flinched. She hadn't cried. She had become him. When she entered, he didn't turn. You shouldn't have done that, he said. You told me to survive, she replied. I did. He faced her. You killed a man. So have you, she said softly. He stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. You're changing. So are you. The words hung heavy between them. The call came at midnight. Vincenzo put it on speaker. A familiar voice echoed through the room. You should have killed the girl. Violet's blood ran cold. Uncle, Vincenzo said calmly. Her breath caught. Family. I warned you, the man continued. Mercanti men don't get weak. Violet clenched her fists. She's not your weakness, the man sneered. She's your execution. The line went dead. Giovanni swore. It's war, he said. Vincenzo looked at Violet. No, he said quietly. It's personal. That night, Vincenzo came to her room. He didn't knock. You're leaving, he said. Her heart dropped. What? I'm sending you away, he continued. New identity, new city. No, she said immediately. I won't run. This isn't a discussion. She stepped closer. You don't get to decide that anymore. He laughed darkly. You think killing one traitor makes you my equal? She met his gaze. No, but it makes me someone your enemies will fear. Silence. Then, you're using me, he said. So are you, she replied. The difference is I'm choosing it. He grabbed her face, not roughly, but urgently. You're the one thing I can't afford to lose. Her voice softened. Then stop trying to control me. They kissed again. Slower this time, dangerously intimate, and both of them knew. This love wasn't a weakness, it was ammunition. They planned the hit together. Italy would fall first, then New York, then Miami. Violet wasn't just present, she was involved, strategic, observant, ruthless. Giovanni watched her quietly. She's becoming dangerous, he told Vincenzo. Vincenzo didn't deny it. She already is. As Violet stood before the mirror that night, dressed in black silk, eyes sharp and unafraid, one truth settled deep in her bones. She wasn't trapped in the mafia anymore. She was rising in it. And when the Mercanti Empire went to war, she would be standing at the center. They thought Violet Anderson was just a girl who got too close to the devil. They were wrong, because by the time the war ended, the devil was the one kneeling at her feet. The jet roared across the Atlantic, slicing through clouds like a blade. Violet sat beside Vincenzo, dressed in black, hair pulled back, eyes calm, too calm. Italy loomed ahead. "This ends tonight," Giovanni said from across the aisle. Violet didn't speak. She was done being afraid. The villa was ancient, stone, walls soaked in blood and history. This was where Vincenzo was born, where his uncle had shaped him into a weapon, and where the war would end. Men flooded the grounds, silent, armed. Violet stepped out of the car and felt it, the weight of legacy pressing down on her chest. "Stay close," Vincenzo murmured. She didn't answer. She was already walking ahead. The dining hall was lit with candlelight. Vincenzo's uncle sat at the head of the table, wine in hand, smiling like a king who thought he had already won. "You came," he said, "and you brought her." His gaze slid to Violet. "Brave," he added, "or stupid?" Violet met his eyes. "Neither," she said. "Prepared." The doors slammed shut. Gunfire erupted, but not against them, against him. The uncle's men fell one by one as Mercanti soldiers emerged from hidden passages. The old man stood slowly, rage twisting his face. "You chose her over blood," he spat at Vincenzo. "No," Vincenzo replied, coldly. "I chose the future." The uncle laughed. "She will destroy you." Violet stepped forward. "She already changed him," she said. "That's why you lost." Shots rang out. Chaos. Violet felt the burn before she heard the sound. A bullet tore through her side. She fell. Vincenzo screamed her name for the first time. He was at her side instantly, hands shaking as blood soaked her dress. "No," he breathed. "No, stay with me." She smiled faintly. "Looks like I finally belong in your world," she whispered. He pressed his forehead to hers. "You are my world." The words shattered him. Giovanni dragged Vincenzo away as Violet was rushed out. The villa burned behind them. The old king died screaming. Violet drifted between light and darkness. Voices echoed, machines beeped, and then silence. She opened her eyes slowly. White ceiling, soft light. Vincenzo sat beside the bed, unshaven, hollow-eyed. "You're alive," she murmured. He laughed brokenly, barely. She reached for his hand. "You should let me go." He stiffened. "No." "You'll never be free," she said softly. "Not with me." He leaned down, forehead against hers. "I don't want freedom," he said. "I want you." Tears slid down her temples. "You can't love me and rule the world." He met her gaze. "Then I'll change the world." Months later, New York. Vincenzo Mercanti stood before the board of his global empire. News screens blared. "Mercanti Global divests from all illegal operations." The underworld shook. Men panicked. Alliances collapsed. The Black King was stepping down. Giovanni watched silently. "You're dismantling everything," he said. Vincenzo nodded. "I'm building something else." Violet stood on the rooftop overlooking Manhattan, wind brushing her hair. She could walk away. New identity, new life, no blood, no shadows. Vincenzo joined her. "I've cleared a path," he said quietly. "If you leave, no one will follow." She turned to him. "And you?" "I stay," he said. "I finish this." She studied his face, the scars, the darkness, the man he was becoming. Then she took his hand. "I'm not leaving." His breath caught. "This world will eat you alive." She smiled. "Then it better learn my name." A year later, the headlines changed. Violet Anderson, Art collector, philanthropist, power broker. She built galleries, shelters, influence. She didn't erase the mafia, she reshaped it. Cleaner, sharper, controlled. Men listened when she spoke, because they remembered what happened to those who didn't. Late one night, Violet stood beside Vincenzo in their penthouse. "You regret choosing me?" she asked quietly. He wrapped his arms around her from behind. "No," he said. "I regret thinking I owned you." She leaned into him. "You never did." The city stretched below them. Power, love, darkness, and something dangerously close to peace.